Tonight's story is one that has fans completely stunned, the music world in chaos, and the internet absolutely spiraling. Because, out of nowhere, Drake, yes, Champagne Papi himself just went on what people are already calling the most insane rant of his entire career. And this wasn't some behind-the-scenes meltdown caught on a leaked iPhone video. No, this happened live. In front of thousands of screaming fans, with cameras rolling, microphones on. And every single second forever immortalized online. Witnesses say Drake's mood shifted instantly. One moment he was smiling, performing his biggest hits, soaking up the love. The next, he dropped the music, grabbed the mic, and unleashed a stream of raw emotion that nobody saw coming. Fans described it as a mixture of anger, heartbreak, and desperation. Like he wasn't just addressing the crowd, but exposing years of betrayal, frustration, and personal demons. And here's where it gets even crazier. In the middle of this tirade, Drake actually broke down crying, claiming that he was the real victim in a feud that apparently runs deeper than anyone ever imagined. People in the arena gasped, fans online are demanding answers, and the industry is buzzing. What pushed Drake to this breaking point? The lights in the arena were blinding, the bass shook the floor, and for a while everything felt like a typical Drake show. The crowd was roaring, every fan waving their phone in the air, recording memories they thought would be nothing but pure celebration. But nobody, not even the most die-hard fan in the front row, could have predicted the emotional storm that was about to hit. Drake had just finished performing one of his classics when he paused, letting the music fade. He stood silently at center stage, breathing heavily, staring out into the sea of faces. At first, fans thought he was just catching his breath, maybe building suspense for the next track. But then, his expression shifted. His jaw clenched. His eyes watered, and in a voice heavy with emotion, he began to speak. "You think you know me," he said into the mic, his tone sharp but trembling. "You think you understand the weight I carry every single day? But none of you know the truth. None of you have seen what I've seen, felt what I've felt." A nervous wave went through the audience. Whispers spread across the floor. What was happening? Was this part of the performance, or something entirely different? Drake's voice grew louder. "For years, they painted me as the villain. Told you I was heartless, selfish, fake. But nobody asked about the nights I cried myself to sleep. Nobody asked how it feels to be betrayed by the people closest to you. I'm not the villain, I'm the victim. I'm tired of hiding it." At that exact moment, he slammed his hand against his chest, tears rolling down his face. The crowd gasped. Some fans screamed in support, others simply stood frozen. The entire arena was divided between those who felt his pain and those who didn't know what to believe. Behind the stage, his team looked on nervously. One of his closest friends, known only to fans as Marco, could be seen whispering into a headset, trying to figure out if they should cut the feed or let the meltdown continue. But Drake wasn't about to stop. He began pacing back and forth, pointing into the air as if calling out invisible enemies. "Oh, they lied about me. They lied about my family. Oh, they used my name to build their careers, and when they didn't need me anymore, they left me bleeding. You all cheered for them. You all believed their stories. But tell me, where were they when I was broken?" The audience gasped again, this time louder. Fans shouted out names, guessing who he was talking about. Was it another rapper? A former collaborator? Or maybe someone from his personal life? The tension was unbearable. A young woman in the front row later told reporters that she had never seen Drake like this before. "He wasn't performing anymore," she said, shaking her head. "He was confessing. It felt like we were eavesdropping on his deepest secrets. It was raw, was terrifying." And then came the first twist of the night. Drake pulled his phone out of his pocket, waving it above his head. "You want proof? You think I'm making this up? I've got the receipts. Messages, calls, betrayal after betrayal. And I'm done. keeping it private. The world deserves to know who turned their back on me." Fans screamed louder. Phones shot into the air, recording every second. Twitter exploded with clips within minutes. Hashtags like #DrakeRant and #DrakesVictim trending worldwide before the show was even over. But instead of showing the proof, Drake shoved the phone back into his pocket and looked at the crowd with teary eyes. "No, not tonight. I'm not ready, but soon, very soon, the world will know everything." It was the ultimate tease. Fans were on the edge of their seats, begging him to reveal the truth. But he left them hanging, dangling on every unfinished sentence. That's when a voice from backstage shouted, trying to cut through the chaos, "Drake, stop. Enough." It was his longtime producer, Noah, stepping forward with a microphone of his own. "This isn't the time. This isn't the place. You're hurting yourself, and you're hurting the people who care about you." The entire arena fell silent, waiting for Drake's response. He glared at Noah, his tears replaced with fury. "Don't you dare tell me when I can speak my truth. You, of all people, should know how much I've suffered. Or maybe you were part of it too." The audience gasped again. Jaws dropped. Had Drake just accused Noah, his closest collaborator, of betraying him? Noah shook his head in disbelief. "Don't do this. Not here, not now." But Drake wasn't backing down. He stormed closer, pointing a finger at him. "You smiled in my face, but behind my back. I don't know anymore. I don't know who to trust." The tension was unbearable. Fans could feel the friendship that had carried some of the biggest hits in music history crumbling right before their eyes. People in the stands were crying. Some shouted words of encouragement, others booed in confusion. The family was left divided. The fans were left divided. The entire industry was left divided. And just when it felt like Drake couldn't take it any further, collapsed to his knees, clutching the microphone. "All I ever wanted was loyalty," he cried. "That's all I ever asked for. But instead, I got betrayal." The lights dimmed, stagehands rushed in, and the screen behind him went black. Fans thought the show was over. People began to leave, whispering and arguing about what they had just witnessed. But as they headed for the exits, the speakers came back to life. Drake's voice echoed across the arena, trembling but powerful. "You think this is the end? No, this is just the beginning." The screen flickered back on, showing a single word, truth, and that's where everything shifted. Nobody left the arena after that. Every fan stayed glued to their seat, waiting to see what truth meant. Waiting to see if Drake was about to expose names, secrets, or something even darker. Part 1 of this saga left everyone stunned. Drake's tears, his accusations, his shocking confrontation with Noah, and the cryptic promise of truth had set the stage for something explosive. And as the arena filled with nervous energy, one question lingered in the air. Who exactly was he about to expose? The arena was silent, yet buzzing with a nervous electricity. Everyone's eyes were locked on the giant screen, glowing with the single word, truth. Fans were whispering frantically, some clutching their friends, others holding their phones up, live streaming the moment to millions who hadn't even been at the show. It wasn't just a concert anymore. It felt like a courtroom, a confession booth, and a battlefield all rolled into one dot. Drake stood center stage again, his face streaked with tears, his chest rising and falling like he had just gone 12 rounds in a fight. The crowd waited, holding their breath, waiting for him to say more. But instead of launching straight into the secrets everyone was begging for, he did something stranger. He sat down. Right there, in the middle of the stage, he sat cross-legged, holding the microphone with both hands like it was the only thing tethering him to reality. "You all want answers," he whispered. The sound echoed through the stadium. But answers come with pain. Are you ready for that? Are you ready to see people you've worshipped turn into monsters? The crowd roared, some chanting his name, others screaming yes. begging him to go on. But his eyes were wild, searching the crowd, scanning for something or someone. And then, in a move that nobody saw coming, he pointed directly into the audience. "You," he said, his voice trembling but firm. "Don't think I don't see you here tonight." "Yeah, I see you." The camera swung desperately, zooming into the front rows, trying to find who he was pointing at. Suddenly, the screens lit up, and there she was, a woman wearing oversized sunglasses, a hood pulled low over her face. Gasps erupted. It was rumored to be Sophie, the mother of his son. The arena went wild. Fans screamed, some in shock, some in excitement, as if this was suddenly the finale of the biggest reality show on television. Drake's face tightened. "You think you can just show up here after everything? After the way you let the world paint me as a liar? As a bad father? You think I forgot?" His voice cracked with pain. "No, I never forgot." Sophie lowered her hood slightly, her expression unreadable. She didn't have a microphone, she didn't shout back, but her presence alone was enough to throw fuel on the fire. The fans lost their minds, chanting, booing, cheering, every emotion clashing together in the air. Drake stood up now, pacing again, his emotions spiraling out of control. "They made me the punchline. They told the world I was hiding my own child. They turned me into a villain. But where were they when I was protecting my son from chaos? Where were they when I stayed up night after night, terrified of how fame would destroy his innocence?" The arena exploded into screams. Some shouted, "We love you, Drake." Others muttered about how Sophie looked calm, almost smug. The division deepened, and it was clear this wasn't just about music anymore. It was about family, betrayal, and secrets that had been festering for years. Then, in a shocking turn, Drake dropped the microphone to his side and looked directly at Sophie. "Say something," he demanded. "Say anything. Tell them the truth." The cameras zoomed in. Sophie shook her head slowly, refusing to speak. The crowd booed. Drake's hands shook with rage, and then another voice cut through the madness. "She doesn't need to say anything." The spotlight swung to the side of the stage, and to everyone's disbelief, another figure walked out. Pusha T. The stadium nearly collapsed with noise. Boos, cheers, screams, chaos. The man who had exposed Drake's secret son years earlier had just stepped into the very center of the storm. Like a villain crashing a season finale. Pusha smirked, grabbing a spare microphone. "Oh, so now you want to cry victim? Now you want to rewrite history? Ah, Drake, the world already knows who you are. And I told them the truth first." The arena shook with noise. Fans lost their minds. Drake's face twisted with fury. "You don't get to stand here and act like you saved anyone," Drake spat, his voice cracking under the weight of anger and grief. "You did this for clout. You did this for attention. You didn't care about my son. You didn't care about my family. You just wanted to see me bleed." Pusha smirked, shaking his head. "And bleed you did." The crowd screamed in disbelief. People were standing on their seats, pulling their friends close, recording every second as history unfolded. It wasn't just a concert anymore. It was a full-blown showdown. Drake stepped forward, pointing his finger right at Pusha. "You broke something in me that night. And ever since then, everyone thinks I'm the bad guy. But I'm not. I'm the one who's been left broken. And tonight, the world is finally going to see that." Pusha laughed, the sound echoing mockingly through the speakers. "Or maybe the world's just going to see that you can't handle the truth." The tension was unbearable. The two stood just feet apart, microphones clutched, their history boiling over in front of thousands. Fans online were already calling it the greatest live meltdown in rap history, the hashtags multiplying by the second. Suddenly, Drake's voice dropped, low and shaky. "You think you know the whole story? You think you exposed me? Nah, you only scratched the surface. The real betrayal, it wasn't even you. It was the people closest to me, the ones I trusted with my life. The crowd screamed again, every fan desperate to know who he was about to call out next. Pusha tilted his head, amused as if daring him to continue. Drake took a deep breath, his tears returning. The one who hurt me most was sitting right beside me all these years. Someone who pretended to be my brother. The entire arena froze. Fans whispered, trying to guess who he meant. Was he talking about his producer Noah again? A friend? Someone else in his circle? And then Drake turned back toward the wings of the stage. You know who you are. Come out here and face me. The spotlight shifted. The arena held its breath. A shadowy figure began walking slowly from backstage. The suspense was unbearable as the figure stepped into the light. Gasps ripped through the crowd. It wasn't Noah. It wasn't a friend. It was his own cousin Jay, someone fans barely even knew existed, but who had apparently been by Drake's side since the very beginning. Handling business, protecting family, keeping secrets. Drake's voice broke. Tell them what you did, Jay. Tell them how you sold me out. The crowd went insane. Fans screaming, crying, unable to believe what they were hearing. And just like that, part 2 came crashing to an end with Drake accusing his own family. A betrayal, the crowd demanding answers, Pusha T smirking in the background, and Sophie sitting silently in the front row. The stage was set for an even darker confrontation. And everyone knew the worst was yet to come. The arena was in absolute chaos. Some fans were screaming so loud their voices cracked. Others stood frozen with their hands over their mouths, unable to process what they had just witnessed. Drake, drenched in sweat and tears, pointed furiously at his cousin Jay, who had just stepped into the spotlight with the weight of the world pressing down on him. Jay's single quotes expression was conflicted. His eyes darted around the arena as if looking for an escape, but there was nowhere to run, not tonight. The cameras zoomed in, broadcasting his face across the giant screen, magnifying every flicker of guilt, fear, and regret. Tell them, Drake demanded, his voice trembling but filled with rage. Tell them what you did to me. Tell them how you betrayed blood. Jay shook his head, his lips trembling. Drake, it's not what you think. The crowd erupted in boos and gasps. Fans shouted from the stands, say it, say the truth. The pressure was unbearable, and DJ's hands began to shake. Reached for the microphone, an assistant reluctantly handed him, his voice low and uneven. I never meant to hurt you, Jay began, his words swallowed by the deafening noise. But you have to understand, the things you wanted hidden, though secrets you kept, they were eating me alive. I couldn't keep them anymore. Drake's face went pale. You told them, didn't you? You told Pusha. Jay lowered his gaze. Silence spread through the arena like wildfire. And then he nodded. The entire stadium exploded into chaos. Fans screamed, cried, cursed, some even threw drinks into the air. The betrayal was too much to handle. Drake staggered backward as if he had been punched in the gut. You, my own blood. You sold me out to him. He shouted, pointing at Pusha, who stood smirking like a villain, basking in his rival's pain. After everything I did for you, after everything we survived together. Jay's voice cracked. Don't understand? They offered me money. They threatened me. They don't you dare. Drake cut him off, his voice breaking into sobs. Don't you dare blame anyone else. You looked me in the eyes every single day, calling me family, while you plotted behind my back. The crowd was divided, some screaming for Jay to leave, others chanting Drake's name in solidarity. Emotions ran so high that security guards had to step closer to the stage. Worried the confrontation would spiral out of control, Pusha raised his microphone again, smirking. And there it is. I didn't even have to say it's your own blood. Confessed it for me? Looks like I'm not the villain after all. Maybe the real villain's been standing in front of you this whole time. Drake snapped. Shut up. You don't get to rewrite this story. You used my family's weakness to destroy me. You preyed on our loyalty. That's on you." Pusha shrugged casually. "Or maybe you just weren't strong enough to see it coming." Fans screamed louder, the tension boiling past anything the arena had ever witnessed. Sophie still sat silently in the front row, her hood back up, her expression unreadable. But fans were already zooming in on her face, speculating online about what she knew and when she knew it. Drake turned back to Jay, tears streaming down his face. Why? Was it worth it? Was the money worth more than blood? Jay's shoulders slumped. "I thought I was protecting myself. I thought. Maybe if they knew, they'd leave us alone." But it spiraled out of control. "Protecting yourself," Drake shouted, his voice cracking. "You destroyed me. You destroyed my son's future. Do you know what it's like to watch your child's name dragged through the dirt because of your betrayal?" The entire arena was trembling with raw emotion. Fans wept openly, strangers hugging each other in disbelief at what they were witnessing. It didn't feel like a concert anymore. Felt like a family ripping itself, apart in front of the whole world. Then came another shocking twist. Noah, Drake's producer, the one he had accused earlier, stepped back onto the stage, this time looking furious. "Enough," he shouted. "Drake, you want the truth? Fine, but stop acting like you're the only victim here." The crowd gasped again. Drake froze, staring at Noah with wide, tear-filled eyes. "What are you saying?" Noah's jaw tightened. "You've been blaming everyone else. Tonight, Pusha, Sophie, Jay, even me. But maybe it's time you admit that some of this is your fault." The audience erupted in disbelief. Boos, cheers, and screams filled the arena. Fans couldn't believe Noah was turning on him now. Drake looked like he'd been stabbed. "My fault? Are you serious? After everything I've done. For this family, for this team, for this music, I carried us." Noah stepped closer. "And in carrying us, you crushed people too. You kept secrets, you shut people out, you demanded loyalty while giving none in return. You made it impossible for anyone to tell you the truth because you only wanted to hear what made you feel powerful." The crowd's reaction was insane. Fans screamed at Noah. Others clapped. Others just stood stunned in silence. The division deepened, the lines between right and wrong blurred. Drake shook his head violently, tears falling freely now. "No, you don't get to do this. Not tonight. Not after everything. I'm the one who was betrayed. I'm the one who was used. I'm the one who was broken. And I won't let you rewrite my pain." The lights flickered. Dramatic music began to swell from the speakers, as if even the production team didn't know whether to treat this as tragedy or theater. Drake dropped to his knees again, screaming into the microphone. "I am not the villain. I am the victim. And if you can't see that, then maybe none of you ever knew me at all." The crowd erupted into screams, some chanting his name desperately, others booing in anger, the arena becoming a battlefield of emotion. Pusha stood back, smirking like the chaos was a gift. Jay looked broken, his head hanging low, while Noah stared at Drake with a mix of fury and sorrow. And then, just as it felt like the entire night had reached its breaking point, the screens flickered again. This time, instead of a word, a video began to play. Shaky, blurry footage of Drake himself. Late at night, pacing in a studio, muttering angrily into his phone. His voice was muffled, but clear enough to hear. "I don't care what it takes. I'll bury anyone who crosses me, even family. Nobody survives if they betray me." The crowd screamed in shock. Fans covered their mouths. Some dropped their phones. The footage was damning. Drake's face drained of color. "No, that's not real. That's not. Who showed this?" But it was too late. The damage was done. The video was out. The betrayal deeper than anyone had imagined. And the truth, whatever it was spiraling out of control. Part 3 ended in utter madness. The world now questioning if Drake was truly the victim, or if he had finally been exposed as the villain of his own story. The arena was no longer just a concert venue. It felt like a courtroom where Drake was on trial, every fan acting as judge and jury. The leaked video continued to play on the massive screens, looping those damning words over and over. "I'll bury anyone who crosses me, even family." The sound of it echoed through the arena like a curse. Fans screamed in disbelief. Some booed, some cried, others argued furiously with each other. Social media was melting down millions. Watching the live streams, were convinced this was the end of Drake's image as the world's beloved superstar. Drake stumbled to his feet, shaking his head wildly. "That's fake." He shouted into the mic. "That's edited. That's not who I am." His voice cracked, desperation dripping from every word. "You have to believe me." But the crowd wasn't unified anymore. Half screamed their loyalty, chanting his name, while the other half drowned them out with boos, convinced he'd been exposed as a manipulator. The family was left divided, the fans were left divided, and the music industry was left holding its breath. Pusha T, still smirking on the side of the stage, leaned into his microphone. "You see, told the truth years ago, and tonight the world finally sees it for themselves. No edits, no lies, just the real Drake. Shut up." Drake roared, his voice breaking with rage and heartbreak. "You think you won? You think? This makes you the hero? No, you're just the same snake you've always been. If you live off my name, off my pain, because without me, you'd be nothing." The crowd roared again, some agreeing, some furious. Emotions were colliding in the stands like a storm. Jay, his cousin, tried to step forward, his face pale and broken. "Drake, it was me. I gave them that video. I thought if I exposed it myself, maybe it would hurt less coming from family. Then from enemies." The arena gasped. Fans screamed in disbelief, some crying out new as if they were watching a betrayal scripted for television. Drake's body froze, his jaw dropping. "You?" His voice cracked barely above a whisper. "You really destroyed me." Jay's eyes filled with tears. "I thought I was saving you. I thought..." "No!" Drake cut him off, his voice rising to a scream that shook the rafters. "You didn't save me. You killed me." The crowd was in shock. Some fans shouted at Jay, booing him so loudly he covered his ears. Others turned on Drake, pointing at the screen, shouting, "We heard you. You said it." And then, in the middle of the chaos, Sophie finally stood. The arena fell silent. All eyes turned to her. She pulled off her hood, revealing her face, calm, but filled with something harder than steel. She didn't have a microphone, but she didn't need one. The production team quickly handed her one, and her voice echoed across the stadium. "Enough," she said firmly. "Stayed quiet long enough. You all want the truth. Here it is." The fans went wild, chanting, screaming, begging her to continue. Drake stared at her, shaking his head. "Don't. Sophie, please. Not here." But she ignored him. "Drake has been hurting. Yes, he's been betrayed. Yes, he's carried pain you can't imagine. But he's not innocent either. He shut people out, he lashed out, he said things he didn't mean. But at the end of the day, he's a father. And everything he's done, good or bad, has been to protect our son." The crowd exploded into cheers and sobs. For a moment, Sophie's words softened the storm. Fans clapped, some even chanting, "Protect Adonis," shifting the energy of the night. Drake, tears streaming, fell to his knees again. "You don't know what it's like," he cried. "You don't know what it's like to carry the weight of millions of eyes on you, waiting for you to fail. I never wanted my son in this madness. I never wanted any of you to know him like this. I only wanted to protect him, to protect him."